Last day.
I'd
like to welcome everyone to the Emmaus Borough Council. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to note for the record, Councilwoman McManaman will be absent tonight. We'll have personal appeals at this time. If anyone has a personal appeal, please sign in. No appeals? Community minute, anybody have anything to bring forward?
I do.
Go ahead.
I was just going to mention that we have the fall Borough newsletter, and some things to highlight are Trick or Treat Night is Friday, October 25th at 6 p.m. Halloween 5K race, registration is open. That's October 19th at 7. And then the Halloween parade follows on October 19th, and the Halloween parade committee is looking for some volunteers. So if anybody has a little free time and wants to help the parade out, contact Kathy Minzer.
All right.
Thank you. That's all.
Thank you. Anyone else? Hearing none. No special presentations. We have reading of the minutes. Is somebody like to make a motion to approve council meeting minutes from September 3rd, 2019? Councilman Shripsta, seconded by Councilman Anders. Any additions or corrections? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. There are 6 ayes.
One abstention.
Oh,
I was not here.
just for the record, if you ever watch them online, you can still
I understand.
vote. Okay. Although 5 ayes and 1 abstention, he wasn't here. And you need to fill out a slip then.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, decisions on bids. We have the sanitary sewer rehabilitation for Donald Drive. In your packet you have, or on your iPad, you have the bid bond award. And that is for,
If you go to the award recommendation memo. it's probably your-
I'm reading the action. It's from Wexcon Incorporated from Mooresville, which is Berks County, PA. It's a utility construction company that has been active for 28 years. They were the successful bidders on a pipe project that Hanover designed at the LCA pretreatment plant about 23 years ago, and on a major storm sewer project in Fountain Hill in 2012. They performed all the work, the utility reconstruction, water, sewer, and storm between 6th and 10th Street in the first phase of the borough's Broad Street reconstruction project in 2001. And we had very good experience with this company. What is the amount for this?
$250,385.
All right, so we are bidding the project, awarding the project to them for $250,385. Would somebody like to make the motion to approve that? Councilman
I'll make a motion, Dufresne.
Dufresne. Thank you. I was thinking Chris. I was like, what's his last name?
He's the new guy.
Second? Hey, one day you'll have this chance. Councilman Anders, second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. There are 6 ayes.
If you want me to get on it.
Communications, we had one we have 1 on the iPad and I have 2 on my desk. Rachel Haas sent a letter concerning crosswalks on South 2nd Street and Minor Street. It's close to a school and she's concerned that safety issues there. So I will refer that to Safety Committee. We also received an email for Barnaby Rue for his annual boomerang tournament down at Community Park, and that is the weekend of October 25th. That will be handled by staff. It's a yearly event. And then also the Emmaus Heritage Festival is having their 3rd annual Heritage Festival, Saturday the 21st at the Emmaus Historical Society, and it's from 11 to 4. Really no Staff doesn't do anything for that either. It's
we-
just more informational.
We get some barricades and some tables.
Okay,
and
so
things.
staff will do what they normally do for that, and hopefully everyone can make an appearance there. I made it last year. They had a good turnout. They were very happy with the turnout there. Now, last year they had the farmer's market at the bank, so it was a little closer. So I don't know if that will alter or not, because they're a little further away from the farmer's market. We'll have to see.
Well,
So-
they're doing this on Saturday.
Saturday.
in
So it doesn't
coordination with
matter.
the
Farewell to summer.
Farewell
is
to
the same
summer is
time.
the same day.
Oh, okay. All right. So they connected those. That's great. All right. Borough Engineers report. We have none. Solicitors report.
I have no report tonight, thank you.
Thank you. No unfinished business. Part 1, we have no new business. Unfinished business, Part 2, we will have second reading of ordinance 1193, which is a zoning map change for between 2nd and 4th Street up there for the apartment complex. That will be November 4th for second reading. Anybody have anything to bring forward that's not on the agenda? Mayor's report.
I have nothing to report this evening. Progress.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Committee reports. Public Works Committee Chairman Anders.
Yes, we have a couple items here. The first is the Remembrance Garden footbridge. In your iPad, you will see the proposal that was brought to us for a wooden footbridge to connect the parking lot to the garden. A Boy Scout is going to do the project. You want this as official recommendation? So we reviewed it, and we'd like to recommend to proceed with the project.
Is there a motion? Are you putting it in form of a motion?
Yes, sir.
Motion by Councilman Anders, second. Councilman Shipsta. Any questions on the project? There's a well-written, detailed explanation of maps and everything and designs, so it's going to be a definite improvement and help with getting over to the Remembrance Garden from the parking lot. So with that being said, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed say no. There are 6 ayes.
Also in your iPad, you can see the work schedule from John Dyshalla, and we discussed some items for budget. Beyond that, I will say progress.
Thank you, Chairman Anders. Health, Sanitation, and Codes Committee, Chairman Shipsta.
Nothing for official action today. Our next meeting is scheduled for September 25th at 4:30 PM. Progress.
Thank you, Chairman Shipsta. Parks and Recreation Committee, Chairwoman Baumgartner.
You see our notes attached there to see what we've been working on. We have nothing for official action, so I report progress. Our next meeting will be October 1st, 4:30.
Thank you, Chairwoman Baumgartner. Public Safety Committee, Chairman Dufresne.
There's nothing for official action. Our notes are in the packet, so unless you have any question on that, the next meeting is October 9th at 9:15 in Council Chambers. Progress.
Thank you, Chairman Dufresne. General Administration Committee is myself. We have 3 items pertaining to the Canals Homestead, the first one being a fence. If you recall, the fence was put up and then it wasn't done properly, so now they did everything properly. They've come before the committee. Committee recommends it. Went before Jim to make sure everything was correct as far as zoning and all that. So would somebody like to make a motion to approve the Canals Homestead fence? Councilman Dufresne, seconded by Councilman Shipsta. Any questions on the fence? Oh,
I just want to make a comment. So I was one who voted no on this. The only reason is that I didn't feel like there was sufficient evidence to show that it had historical value. That was my only reason. And we also have been working to get a historical commission together, and I would feel more comfortable if they reviewed it before we were to approve something like this. So that's where I stand on it.
thank you, Shanna. I will note that I questioned it too, and I asked, was there a fence on the Canals Homestead? And they said they think there was because of the stone pillars there that you would normally connect the fence to, but they don't have any
Right.
proof that it was there. And then the other comment was it's the fence of that era when the home was built. So it's something they want, so I don't really care either way. It's going to look nice, It's going around the barn. So with that being said, anyone else want to make a comment? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. There are
No.
6 ayes.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. 5 ayes and 1 no.
2 noes.
2 noes. Councilwoman Baumgartner and Councilman Hart are the nays. Thank you. I'm so used to saying.
Wouldn't that be 5, 4,
4 and 2,
Four and
yes.
two.
Okay, I thought you said 5.
Canals Homestead house painting. If you look inside, there is a chart of the colors, and they are selecting Philadelphia cream. And it's a lighter shade of yellow, I would say, for the exterior painting of the home. Would somebody like to make a motion to approve that? This will be done in the spring.
I'll make a motion.
Councilman Dufresne, seconded by
I'll second.
Councilman Anders. Questions on the paint job?
Just, I mean, they're going away from the white. There's nobody that knows what it was back
That's-
in the day.
So, yeah.
Oh, we do.
There was no paint.
It was just wood.
No,
It
there's no
was
historical
weathered
significance
wood.
behind the white either. It was
Okay.
weathered wood, which kind of like what the shelter house would look like.
Right,
They,
okay.
they weren't necessarily painting houses back then with that kind of house. So it's more of a protect it, but let's make it look like it's not a peeling piece of garbage over there is really what they're trying to do.
They're going to strip it down, do everything properly. They feel it wasn't done properly the first time. I don't know. It's been a while since it's painted, and the paint job usually typically lasts, what, 10 years at the most?
Well,
10, 15?
depends on the kind of paint, but it started peeling relatively soon after they painted it last time.
Correct.
I think that it's had issues since.
Right.
It probably wasn't addressed correctly the first time.
And the shutters will be replaced. I do remember that in the comments.
Yeah,
They're shot and they need to be replaced.
The only other thing I read was about them testing it for lead before doing it, I guess.
Yes,
Yeah, our
thank
code
you. We
official
did-
had suggested that they need to do that.
Okay.
So.
Yeah.
Thank
So would somebody like to make a motion with that part of the motion?
Just ask Chris and Roy
I'll
to.
amend my motion.
Amend it? Okay. And who
My
made the second? You made the second?
That was my second.
All right. Any other comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. 6 ayes. Canals Homestead bathroom removal. So there was a bathroom put in at some time, I don't know what they estimated, by the color, I think it was, what, the 60s?
Yeah, it's the
It's
pink or
pink.
green, right?
Bathroom's
It's the
pink, the fixtures. So they want to, it's not historical. They want to remove it and take a wall down so they can use it for their museum part of the home. So would somebody like to make a motion to allow them to remove the bathroom and the wall?
I'll make a motion.
Councilman Dufresne, seconded by Councilwoman Baumgartner. Any comments on that? Councilman
Just-
Enders?
I guess my question is then, I know there's sometimes a porta potty out there. Where else do they go if they have open house?
That's all they have. And that is on our long-term plans, but not next year anyway.
Right.
As you know, we've been adding some into some of the parks that we've been at,
So
like
I
such
get-
as South Fourth Street,
I guess
not
the
too
biggest
long
thing
ago.
is if they have schools and things coming in and there's no place for those
Well,
children.
they have the porta toilets, that's it. That's what they have,
Okay,
so.
okay. No,
I don't know.
That was just my
One thing I
thought.
don't know, was it a working bathroom? I don't think it was a working bathroom.
Bathroom currently isn't functioning.
Yeah, so
It's
that,
not?
it's not a
Okay.
working bathroom. Any other comments or questions? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. There's 6 ayes. Council rules and procedures, you have them on your desk, they're also on your iPad. Are the ones in our iPad updated or are the ones on our desk
The
updated?
email that you received today was updated.
Okay, so, not too many changes. One change was if the mayor is absent for 2 meetings, then the council president will
Assume that role
assume that role, meaning tiebreaker
at the council meetings, yes.
at the council meetings. So, that pretty much was, oh, and then there was an addition of addressing the press, our legal help, stuff like that.
Yeah, overall, the rules are consistent with the ones that council adopted well over a decade ago. We did update them and cleaned up the language to meet what we currently do and what we're required to do in the current laws.
And also electronic. There's a little bit of
Correct.
updating on the email and such that we didn't have 10, 15 years ago. I don't think we had borough email 10 years ago. I think it's more recent than 10.
Yeah.
So
6 years ago, you guys, I think, instituted.
there you go.
email.
So, all right, with that being said, is there a motion to approve the council rules and procedures? Councilwoman Baumgartner, seconded by Councilman Schubsta. Any questions on it? Councilman Hart?
It's a discussion Shane and I had before the meeting in section 10 and regular meetings.
What page?
It's the 10. It's the section dealing with tabling of items. I appreciate Robert's Rules of Order. You simply cannot table something twice. So it's correct that if an item is on the table, it must come off at the next meeting. I think it has to come off either by vote or withdrawal, but that's not necessarily necessary. But the next sentence says, it may be retabled. Perhaps a clearer way of saying that would be, it may be reintroduced at a future meeting.
And I agree with that change of language. Absolutely, I do. And so I did actually amend it downstairs. I didn't bother resending it to you. I encouraged Mr.
So-
Hart just to
So with
suggest a
the
change.
motion and the second, amend the language for 10 on page 10,
Do we need it amended?
right? We want to
Yeah,
amend it?
Okay,
Yeah.
I make that amendment.
And who was the second? Was it,
It was
Schubsta?
Roy.
I think.
Yes, sir.
who seconded it? Schubsta?
Shipsta.
I
don't know
did.
if Jeff.
I'll
You-
amend that. Yep.
All right. Any other comments or questions? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. There are 6 ayes. Our next meeting is September 26th, Thursday, here at 9 a.m. in council chambers. Budget and Finance Committee, Chairman Hart. You probably have the longest
Yeah.
agenda next to mine.
Thank you, Mr. President. I apologize in advance for the number of action items we have. Simple bill list that was recommended previously at the Budget and Finance Committee for bills totaling $728,612.63 under Resolution 2019-33. I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Councilman Hart, seconded by Councilman Dufresne. Questions on the bill list? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. There are 6 ayes.
I would note at this time, it's something that we did discuss in the Budget and Finance Committee, and I did want to make a public record of it, that we are facing a 27 pay period year next year versus 26. This happens every 11 years, and it's a result of there being 365 days in the year versus 364 plus leap years, which adds up to an extra week every 11 years. So what does this mean to us budgetary-wise? Recall earlier we approved about $200,000 worth of payroll expenses. We will have one additional $200,000 payroll expense in the upcoming year. This is something that is common in all businesses that have biweekly or every other week payrolls, and it occurs at every company that has that. And it happens in the year depending on when your payroll pay date is. I simply want it noted for the record, this is not poor budgeting, but rather something that occurs in all biweekly payroll companies. Happy to answer any questions.
We'll be good for another decade then.
Yeah, we'll be.
You'll still be
Most
here.
of us won't be here.
And we're working on naming that street that he's been asking.
Okay, if there aren't any questions, I'll move on to the next item. It's that time of the year we are obligated to calculate through actuarial calculations our minimum municipal obligation for next year's budget to ensure municipal pension plans are sufficiently funded. The actuarial was done by Mockenhop, am I pronouncing that
Yep.
correctly? Benefits group for us. And it appears that our police pension plan will be $488,150.72.
Do we do them separate?
And the residual pension plan would be $522,343.81.
Would you like to place that in the form of a
I would
motion?
like to place that in a motion to approve to bake into next year's budget.
All right, there's a motion by Councilman Hart. Is there a second? Councilman Dufresne? Any questions on the cost of the pension? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. 6 ayes.
Next, Town Hall IT Systems Management. Mr. Pepe has been analyzing IT support vendors over the past 2 years. He asked Mr. Schupps to head up a group along with myself and his staff to sit through the finalists who made a presentation to us. It was unanimously recommended to switch vendors to Infradapt for services covering town hall operations only at this time. No change at present to the police or fire, pending further review. It's doubtful that changing the police department will be in the foreseeable future due to the unique certifications required, currently only available with the Integra system. Infradata was not the lowest bidder. It was about $100 a month more. However, the additional services and protection offered by them, in our opinion, was more than sufficient to recommend them as the awardee. I'd call on Mr. Schupps for any comments.
No, I mean, I think the two companies that we kind of batted around at the end were both qualified. I mean, I think, but I think what stood out the most was they're more of a futuristic, proactive approach, how they looked at the entire infrastructure and how they were going to, make some recommendations for us in the future and budgeting reasons and stuff like that. So I thought that was a good thing they brought to the table.
They also have more services that they cover rather than bill out separately for.
Yeah, and he did. He went through that whole list. I mean, he went and basically looked at everything that we have within our network, and he picked it apart and made recommendations for all of it. So it was a very detailed presentation, I thought. So, I mean, like you said, it was a little bit more expensive, but I think you're getting, a lot more service for what you're paying for.
Conceivably, it could be, it costs us less.
In the
as a
long run,
result
less
of-
because it covers
Right.
more and you don't get
Exactly.
what I like to say nickel and
Nickel and
dime.
dimed, yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
If there aren't any questions, I'd offer that in the form of a motion to approve Infradebt.
There's a motion by Councilman Hart. Is there a second? Councilman Schupps? Any questions or comments? I'd just like to say that it's a multi-year contract and we get a discount because of that, correct?
Yes.
All right. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. There are 6 ayes.
Next is the Auditor RFP. Included in your pack is a copy of the request for proposal for auditing services. I would note for the record that this action is not a reflection on the performance of the current auditing firm, rather a desire to explore other alternatives as we have been doing this in the past year for other vendors and services. It is also consistent with best practices in accounting to examine auditing firms every so many years to avoid familiarity bias. I'd offer the RFP in the form of a motion.
Motion by Councilman Hart. Is there a second? Councilman Dufresne? Any questions on the RFP? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. There are 6 ayes.
The next has to do with our fire apparatus. And recall that we approved in principle the purchasing of a new tanker some time ago. And via annual budgetary allocations for acquisition in 2021, which is consistent with our replacement timeline for apparatus. Our present unit is 21 years old, if I'm correct. And the build time for apparatus is over 400 days. It is our recommendation that we approve the ordering of that apparatus, and with the understanding that we are not going to be able to put another $200,000 away in next year's budget. We have $300,000 already set aside for what will be approximately a $620,000 piece of equipment. However, what we're suggesting is that council approve our moving forward with the ordering of it, which will not be a delivery until 2021, with the understanding that with no less than $350,000 in funds coming out of our budget, not to exceed $275,000 in financing. And the truck would be ordered no sooner than October 31st. I put that in the form of a motion.
No sooner than or no later than?
No later than, I'm sorry.
All right, there's a motion on the floor by Councilman Hart. Is there a second? Councilman Dufresne. Questions or comments?
Just
Councilman Anders?
Just Shane, the portion of it that, will we, in my understanding, we would pay the total amount then once it's delivered, correct? The 500 and...
Correct. That's what our Director of Public Safety has informed us, that we do not actually have to pay a down payment, although we have the money for a down payment.
Correct.
So we may do that anyway. But that we will have to pay when we take delivery. We're being told it's going to be about a 15-month build time. So,
Which we've been saving the past few years for this. It's just now is the time
3
to
years.
order it because of the amount of time it takes to build, which is incredible when you read that, but
well, we ordered a police car last October. We're still waiting on it, and that's a car.
yeah. Okay, thank you. I just want to clarify that for,
Okay.
for the residents. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions?
So
Council-
the money that we need to cover when it's delivered, are we budgeting for that then for
So
next year? Are we
so how the-
financing it?
So how the motion reads is that $350,000 will come out of savings
Okay.
that we've been
Yeah,
saving for it,
that we have, yeah.
and money that we will budget between next year and the year after.
And the year after.
The difference, actually, we're stating 275, but the number is probably closer to 250.
Okay.
We would look at a state loan that's 2%
Okay.
funding, unless, again, interest rates are,
Yes.
very favorable at the bank level. Because the state loan is a 20-year loan, which we would ask that if we're gonna go down that road, that we plan to pay that thing off in like 3 years,
Yeah.
not 20 years.
Not
Like your
20
ladder
years.
truck, you're paying like $7,000 a year for the rest of your life.
Yep.
For, which is kind of stupid, but,
And then we sell it for
but that's how the state financing is set up. You should really, I mean, if you wanna go down the road to 2%, that's fine, just pay it off early.
So the other question I have is, what is our intention to do with the one we're replacing then?
We'll probably sell it for whatever sucker wants to buy it.
What kind of salesman are you?
I saw that.
One
That's a
that,
good truck.
one that's concerned with
like that
any
word
vehicle that
removed,
might
please.
shut off while you're driving it down the road. But we would sell it.
Okay.
I'm sure somebody will take it. It's shiny still.
Roy might want it.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. There are 6 ayes.
You can go home, chief.
Guns,
He's dancing
Back there sweating.
guns for the police department. Presently, our police department carries .45 caliber weapons. These are the weapons that were chosen in 2012 with an every 10-year recycling plan in place. The 9mm weapon has come into favor and lost favor and come back into favor. Why? Because of its stopping power. It used to not have as much stopping power, certainly as the .45, which is why our department chose the .45. The .45 is a very heavy weapon to carry, and it's hard to control. It also has less bullets in the clip. The 9mm ammunition has improved to the point where its stopping power is greatly increased. We have a proposal from Sig Sauer, which is the same manufacturer of our .45 weapons that we currently carry. And what it will enable us to do is to switch out our 45s for the 9 millimeters, and basically still have money left over to pay for approximately half of the holsters and lights that are necessary for the weaponry. We anticipate securing the residual of the funds to cover that other half of holsters and lights through our annual budget that we put through. So the recommendation is to switch over now versus 2022, and we would, in essence, save money by doing that. I put that in the form of a motion.
Motion by Councilman Hart, seconded by Councilman Dufresne. Questions or discussion? Councilman Dufresne?
Just the only thing I would add is that ammunition costs each year will be lower under the new one also,
Yeah,
so.
the ammunition is actually
it's
cheaper,
actually cheaper.
so it's going to save us in the long run. Yeah, what it comes down to is we're getting new guns, and we have to pay for the holsters for them, and it basically equals, what, $4,500, and we're swapping out guns. Isn't that what?
Yeah,
the
I mean,
holsters-
they're giving us, they're giving us money to trade guns, which is usually unheard of. But yeah, it really comes down to our net cost in this is $4,500.
But-
The reason
but-
it-
Whoops, sorry.
Okay.
But again, we'll recover that in ammunition within 2 years.
Yeah.
Right, and the reason why we're encouraging it now is because of the cost analysis of, if you wait a couple more years,
Yeah.
the value of the 45 goes down.
So we're doing it 7 years versus 10.
And there is a market for 45s right now, which
Yes.
works in our favor.
Absolutely.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. There are 6 ayes.
From guns to refuse billing. The office staff, after analyzing the matter, recommended to the Finance Committee quarterly billing for the refuse collection rather than a single invoice presently in place. What is being suggested is we continue to send out an invoice in January to which you would be able to pay the entire amount for a reduced amount as you can now. However, for those who choose not to do that and go on a quarterly payment system, they would receive invoices through the rest of the year, 3 additional invoices. We would still include the 2020 guidelines that have reduced rates for individuals who are 62 years of age or older and household incomes of not exceeding $18,000 for a single resident, $25,000 for a family. So the recommendation is to move to quarterly billing for the refuse.
So motion by Councilman Hart. Is there a second? Councilman Dufresne, any comments? I just want to make a note that it will actually increase our revenue a little bit. It will help people out because they are paying 4 bills versus 1. But because we're doing the quarterly payments, it's going to be slightly higher because it's more work for our staff, but it essentially could generate a little more revenue for us.
Yeah, so I mean, so essentially this is meant to help people. You still have the option to pay upfront, like you always have, and pay that discounted rate. However, one of the things that we've done is either, if you didn't pay your bill because you couldn't afford the $360 upfront, in the middle of winter, you had to pay your penalties, or by the end of the year, still $360 at any time is a lot of money to pay at once. We were either taking you to court or until the law changed, or after the law changed, now we turn you over to the solicitor, which results in even higher charges because now you're dealing with legal counsel. The goal here is that it gives people an option to be able to pay and spread it out over a quarter so that they're paying 4 payments rather than one big lump sum payment. Or if you can afford to pay the lump sum, which most, I think about 70% of people pay the discount, then you pay it in February, and you get your discount, and life is good. You don't have to worry about that bill the rest of the year. So it's nothing where we're looking at trying to make money. This is an option where we felt at our level, at the staff level, that we wanted to give the residents another option to pay. And one thing that was holding it up was whether or not our software could handle it. And we found a way to do it. Our software company has to reconfigure a few things, but we think this is a good move all the way around.
Yes, and I didn't want to make it sound like we're doing it to raise more revenue. I'm just saying, for the convenience that if you make 4 payments, you always have the option of paying for the discount, but it gives you the option of doing 4 payments, and because of that, there's a little bit added fee because,
It's just like any other bill that you would pay. If
Right.
you're gonna break it down into payments, you have to pay the administrative fee to go with that.
correct. And one other thing is, we discussed if it's possible to send one bill out with 4 payments on one bill, so we don't have to mail them out quarterly. We're not sure if the software is able to do that, or currently they're not able to, I don't think. But if they're able to, they will go that direction, but at this point, we're not there. So,
My only question is, so the last payment would be due by October, just as you're doing, when you do your budgets, you want to make sure we have whatever's coming in, so is it like the last payment will be due by October 1st, and then, obviously each month it's
Well,
January and.
Listen, all we figured out at this point is, are we going to do quarterly payment? We didn't decide what the dates were. That's something that as we go through the budget process and configure everything.
Okay. I was
But
just
what we
curious.
have to do is, the reason why we've pushed this forward, because normally I would send it to, and I told Mr. Shipster this morning, we normally send it to his committee and kind of vet this a little bit more, but if we're gonna do this, we need to get it into a winter newsletter to let our residents know. Well, the cutoff on that is in a couple weeks, so.
Great.
We push it to
it's a
Budget and
great
Finance to
option.
deal with. So we don't have dates on it yet.
Okay,
They're gonna be consistent, I think, with sewer bills,
okay.
is how the dates will be. But I can't sit here and tell you that your dates
No,
are gonna
that's
be
fine,
here,
yeah,
here, and here.
it was just,
Yeah.
any other questions? Oh, Councilwoman Baumgartner?
Mr. Liebenberg, you addressed one of my questions, which was about whether we can send a single invoice with quarterly payments. So hopefully that can be resolved, because that would simplify things on our part as well as for the residents. The other question I had would be, if there would be penalties, would it be like for non-payment if after 4 payments, they.
So
miss
meaning
payment?
if they're late on their
If they're
first
late on a
payment?
quarterly payment, or at what point?
I believe
is
it's a
that gonna
10%
apply?
penalty.
Yeah, there's a 10% penalty if they're late, or something that would be equivalent to 10%. And if they don't pay by the end of the year, it goes over this guy.
And would that pose a burden on staff to have to manage
So
The
we just,
software
the
manages it.
software? Will handle
so we discussed all that. If somebody pays in full, we have like 4,000 some resident, how many is it total?
40, I think it's like almost 4,200 accounts.
So 4,200 accounts and maybe 3/4 pay in full.
Yeah, it's about 75%.
So they will automatically come out of the system, and the computer will generate who the bills have to go out for the quarterly. So it's not really any extra work for the staff other than having to put the payment in.
And again, staff is who recommended it.
This was,
Yeah,
this
but
was
they've
staff
not
that
gone
brought it
through
up.
it yet.
They worked through it with the vendor, supposedly, so.
Yeah, well, I appreciate the work that Jessica Westner's put into this project. She's taken ownership of it. She's really kind of taken the lead in terms of, she's looked at it from a resident point of view of the people that are struggling paying that bill, and trying to figure out a way to set it up so it's affordable for them.
Yeah, we have to thank her because she's the one that hears the comments from the people when they pay. So they know how people are struggling or not struggling, and they hear it firsthand. So that's the reason why they brought it forward, to make it doable for some people that are struggling. So
No,
gotta
I'm
appreciate
definitely in
what
favor
they're
of the
doing.
idea. After holidays, having a large bill like that is not easy for many families. And then the other question is, are we set up yet for online payments, or is that still like mailing in, dropping off?
So we should be able to handle that.
Okay.
Yeah, we should be able to handle that with this.
Okay, great, thank you.
Right? Good discussion. Anything else? I think we covered a lot. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. There are 6 ayes.
Thank you for your perseverance, everyone. The committee meeting notes of September 3rd are included in your iPad. Our next meeting is October 7th, 2019 at 6:45. I report progress.
I got a question.
Oh.
We didn't go over significant revenue and expenses. Did we skip over that?
I mentioned that. in the
You mentioned
beginning.
it.
Well, you have some
Okay,
comment?
yeah, I just wanted to ask what that cost for the HVAC, is that the police department again?
That's the police department.
More cost added onto that unit?
No, that
No,
was
replacement.
what you guys had budgeted for.
So that was the budgeted replacement? It wasn't
Yeah.
something that broke?
No.
Okay.
It's been broke, but they're finally,
Yeah. we do.
They're finally installing it
It's
for us,
replaced
so,
now.
Okay.
I think, yeah, it's been broken forever. But yeah, I think we paid in payments, but they just installed, I think they finished, Mayor, last week? They finished the installation or the week before?
You know what? I'm not sure.
Yeah, it was either last week or the week before they finished the installation.
No space heaters this
So-
year.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that too.
Yeah, I'm not gonna
Hopefully
comment. I don't know that we've turned it on yet.
Progress?
I said progress.
Oh, okay. Well, he took you out, he took you out of the progress, so. All right.
Put you back into the progress.
Thank you, Chairman Hart, and good job on explaining all those. There was a lot of items there. Community Relations Planning and Development Committee, does anybody have a report for Chairwoman McManaman?
No.
They're scheduled for a meeting, but she's not gonna be in town, right?
It's the 19th, yeah, 4:30.
That's this week.
Yep.
Is she going to be in town?
No, not till
Do you have
the
anything on the
21st.
agenda?
So I have nothing. I have a funeral to attend, so
Oh,
I
yeah,
won't,
I
I
don't
won't
think
be
she's
here.
back till the 21st.
So,
So-
Mr. Hart, do you have anything for that committee? We'll either cancel or reschedule if that's okay with you guys.
Yeah, if you're not gonna be around, then. and
No,
she's
I
not
have-
gonna
I
be
have
around,
a-
and
I
I
have
have
a
nothing
funeral
for
to
the
attend.
committee right now. I
Okay.
mean, it's just basically working through the site, but that's about it. But
So
that's-
we're gonna say we're canceling that
All
meeting.
right, just fire out an email, make it official. All right. Junior Councilman Jonas, any report for us?
Yes, this weekend, EHS golf team won the second EPC championship. Girls cross country won first place out of 38 teams. Boys cross country got fourth out of 40 teams. Girls field hockey beat Stroudsburg, and girls soccer beat Freedom. Football beat Pleasant Valley. And tomorrow, girls tennis faces Parkland at 3:30. Cross country plays at 4 p.m. Varsity field hockey plays East Stroudsburg at 4 p.m. And junior varsity hockey plays East Stroudsburg as well at 5:30 p.m. And I report progress.
Thank you. You have two sets of meeting minutes and one financial statement for you to check out and be updated on. Personal appeals, part 2. Anybody have an appeal? Hearing none. Borough Manager's report.
So I have numerous items for you. First and foremost, Ryan Westner begins next Tuesday. Will be his first day as our assistant code official. As you're aware, the budget process has begun. So if you have any outstanding budget requests that you want to send my way, don't bother. The binder's already big enough. No, I'm just kidding. Please send them to me.
Not really.
Yeah, I'm kidding, but not really. Please send them to me. If there's something that you want me to take a look at as far as a request or for us to consider, please get those to me as soon as possible. So that way, any kind of research we need to get in there, we will do. Your preliminary budget will be presented to you on October 21st. On October 24th is your first workshop. I do not expect you to read all 3,000 pages of the budget by then, but I do by your second workshop, which I think is November 7th. So
Is your intro letter over 100 pages this year?
it probably will be. I'm working on it. We've received 3 different grants in the last 2 weeks. One is the Pennsylvania Council of the Arts concert grant. I think that was $1,500. Second one was we are receiving the CDBG grant for next year for curb cuts. I think that's around $34,000. I'm not real sure. And the General Authority gave us a grant for $49,000 as well. So we received those 3 in the last couple weeks. The last thing I have for you that I do need a vote on is to name Brent Stringfellow as the primary representative and Todd Ackerman as the alternate for the Southwestern Lehigh Comprehensive Plan Steering Committee moving forward.
Would somebody like to make that motion? Councilman Schubsta, second by Councilman Anders. Any questions? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say no. Or 6 ayes.
Did you say it was Schubsta and
And Roy.
Okay.
And Anders.
The dynamic duo.
I'm just Superman. I don't know who you are.
Does that mean you have tights on underneath your?
He's the tight guy from wrestling.
Wow.
I'll wear that on my last count.
If you have any questions, please feel free to ask, otherwise I'll report progress.
Thank you.
Last council meeting.
President's business. I was running stuff through my head when you said about grants, and I heard you say the last one, but I don't, did you mention the Pennsylvania Council of
Yeah.
Arts?
Yes.
Yeah, you
Okay,
said the
sorry.
concert series.
I was I was zoned out when he was talking
that's
about
not
that. So, hey, I'm honest. I'm gonna appoint a couple ad hoc committees. The first one being a Halloween race committee, and I'm gonna appoint Wesley Barrett to that. He's been doing it since it started. I think is this the 11th year, I believe? Last year was the 10th. And that's just going to be an appointment and no vote on that, right?
That's right. You
All right,
can name
and
your
then we're
committee.
also going to have a 33 East Minor Street construction ad hoc committee, which I will have, basically it's going to be the Budget and Finance Committee, so it'll be Councilman Hart, Councilman Dufresne, and myself, to just go over numbers, costs, and also to discuss hiring of engineering and just details to move this project forward. Cannot do any votes on the ad hoc committee. It's just discussion and analyzing stuff. Then it will be brought forward to either the Budget and Finance Committee and then council through that. But basically, by having an ad hoc committee, we can meet more often because the Budget and Finance meets once a month. So we're probably going to have a meeting sometime next week. And then thereafter, weekly, bi-weekly, whatever is determined to keep this project moving along. Councilman Ships.
I just have a question. So I understand the ad hoc committee for the construction, but for the race, how does that process then work? Reporting up through, is that going to report up through committees and stuff like that, or?
Well, it's basically a recurring event that we have every year, and it's basically a formality that we did for.
Just like the Halloween, just like the
Just the Halloween parade?
The Halloween parade.
They just go over and figure out what volunteers they need and who's going to be
Yeah.
doing what? Okay.
So remember, we kind of ran it before as through council.
Yeah, it was just
Um,
like an event, I mean,
But,
basically.
right, but we need now, there's a little bit of a disconnect, so we need to name a committee there.
Okay, makes sense then.
When they go through-
I would think that
Then go to
CRD,
CRD would get it?
I would think that CRD is gonna be the overarching piece of that.
Okay.
That's all I have. Anybody have any questions for me? All right. Motion to adjourn? Councilman Hart, seconded by Councilman Anders. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed say no. There's 6 ayes. Meeting adjourned at 7:48.